Honey, I have so much to do. And now I need to go to TDC Home and Building Depot to buy the new fridge.
Samantha, stop worrying. You can purchase the fridge and whatever else you may need with TDC Home and Building Depot's curbside and delivery service.
Really?
Just send your request via WhatsApp or email, pay online, and get your purchase by pickup or delivery.
Wow! I'm going to try TDC curbside and delivery service now.
Terms and conditions apply. Check our social media pages for all the details.
At The Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of The Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and zero annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Basse-Terre or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get your Platinum Loyalty Card today because you deserve platinum. Terms and conditions.
People make the world go
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News right here on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and let me just say good morning to all our first time and usual listeners. Good morning to those of you who have joined us via the Facebook and YouTube lives, and of course the other social media. Of course, those listening in the radio land, a special good morning to you as well. Good morning to those of you at home and abroad, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News right here on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Today's topic will be rather interesting as we will be taking a look at our national heroes. Today is the 27th day of February, and we are still in Black History Month. We are still celebrating Black history, but today, Black history. What do you know about our national heroes? And so, some fun facts, and we will be taking a walk down memory lane, and I will try my best, rather, to tell you as much as possible about our national heroes. And I think I will be able to tell you some things that you did not even know. Very, very interesting, fun facts that when you hear, you'll be like, wow, this is mind-blowing. Because when I found out, it was mind-blowing as well. But thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of Inside the News right here on WINN FM 98.9. Remember, the numbers to call are 466-0989, 762-0989, and 662-0989. We also have our WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204, 662-2204. Remember, that is only for WhatsApp, so you can't call us there. It is just for you to send us a message, a comment, whatever it may be. Again, the number to call is 662-2204. So, what do you know about our national heroes? What do you know about our national heroes? Now, let me start by listing who they are, even though most of us should know by now who they are. We have Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel. Then we have Lee Llewellyn Moore. Sorry, not Lee Llewellyn Moore. Correction. So we have Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel, Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, Paul Southwell, and Joseph Nathaniel France. Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel, Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, Paul Southwell, and Joseph Nathaniel France. Now, Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel was born in Barnesgut Village, St. Thomas's Parish, Nevis, and he was born in the month of August, the 22nd day of August to be exact. His zodiac sign is a Leo. Now, how many of you know the meaning of the name Simeon? Now, I did some research and I came across this website called sheknows.com. And according to that website, Simeon means obedient and listening. Obedient and listening. Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw was born in St. Paul's, right here in St. Kitts. He was born in the month of September, and his zodiac sign is a Virgo. Interesting to note, his name Llewellyn means leader or ruler. The name Llewellyn means leader or ruler, and he led us. Also, we have Joseph Nathaniel France. Now, I think this one is rather interesting because Joseph Nathaniel France today is seen as a Kittitian, or someone who's from St. Kitts, even though, yes, he spent most of his life on St. Kitts. But how many of you knew that he was born in Mount Lily, Nevis? Joseph Nathaniel France was born in Mount Lily, Nevis, St. James, Windward Parish. Mount Lily is, when you driving up Westbury, right up there to the top. It's a small village, Mount Lily. Now, he too was born in September, and he shares the same birth date of Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw. Of course, his sign is a Virgo. And the meaning of the name, Joseph, is derived from the Latin form of Greek Joseph, from the Hebrew name Yosef, meaning he will add. Joseph means he will add. Very interesting. Now, this is I thought this one was a bit weird when I brought it to the attention of my coworker yesterday. And when I told her, she was blown away. She was blown away. I found out this 2 years ago during a class, and I too was in shock. Did you know that 4 of our national heroes all died in the month of May? 4 of our national heroes all died in the month of May. Dr. Daniel died on May 27th. May 27th. May 27th, 2012. And he died from cancer. He was born August 22nd, 1934, and he died May 27th, 2012. Now, Paul Southwell, he was actually born in Dominica. That is very interesting to note. And his full name is Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell. And he was the second premier and first chief minister of St Kitts and Nevis. He was born on July 18th, 1913 in Dominica. However, he died on May 18th in Castries, St. Lucia. He died during the meeting of the West Indies Association. So Dr. Simeon Daniel died on May 27th. Paul Southwell died on May 18th. Now we're continuing. Because as I said, when I brought this to the attention of my coworkers, she could not believe, as I'm not sure how many people know this. Robert Bradshaw died from prostate cancer, and he died on the 23rd day of May. The 23rd day of May. So we have Simeon Daniel on the 27th of May, Paul Southwell on the 18th of May, and Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw on the 23rd of May. And it continues to be even more interesting. Joseph Nathaniel France. Remember, Joseph Nathaniel France is originally from Nevis. He's from Mount Lily, Nevis, but he came over to St Kitts at a very young age. Now, Nathaniel France died on the 21st day of May. The 21st day of May. So all the four national heroes, Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel, Paul Southwell, Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, and Joseph Nathaniel France all died in the month of May. That blew me away when I found out, as I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. This is kind of weird. I'm not trying to, bring any conspiracy or anything, but I thought it was rather interesting. Now, a little bit more about Sir Dr. Simeon Daniel. Now, as I said before, he was born in Barnesgut Village, Nevis, in St. Thomas's Parish, Nevis. He was born to Joseph Daniel and Melvina Daniel Niacha. He received his early education at the St. Thomas's Government Elementary School in Nevis, and he entered the teaching profession as a pupil teacher in 1950 and attained the Leeward Island Teacher Certificate. I am speaking about the national heroes that have passed on. So I'm not. Yes, Sir Kennedy Simmons is a national hero too, but I am speaking more about the national heroes who passed on. So thank you for that observation. But yes, Sir Kennedy Simmons, yes, I know, is a national hero, but I'm focusing on those who passed already. So he entered the teaching profession, that is Dr. Daniel, as a pupil teacher in 1950, and then he attained the Leeward Island Teacher Certificate in 1957. Now, in 1962, Daniel began his legal tutorial at the Council of Legal Education in England. And while he was a student from 1960 to 1966, he worked as a clerk at the London County Council and later as an executive officer. And in 1965, he received a recognition grant for outstanding meritorious work from the said institution. Now, Dr. Daniel continued his education at the Inner Temple of the Inns of Court in London, and in 1966 he became barrister at law and was called to the bar in England. Now, Dr. Daniel returned to Nevis in 1966, and he served as the Assistant Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs and was admitted to the local bar that same year. The following year, he was appointed Crown Counsel and later Registrar of the Supreme Court and Additional Magistrate in the state. He entered private practice in 1969, right here on St. Kitts. Now, Dr. Daniel was among the founding members of a political party called the Nevis Reformation Party, NRP, in 1970. Now, many people think that it was Dr. Daniel who formed the NRP. It was his idea. He was among the founding members. So it was not Dr. Daniel who said, let us form the Nevis Reformation Party. He was among a group of young men and women who formed the Nevis Reformation Party following the Christine disaster. The party was officially registered in October of 1970. He served as chairman of the local council from 1972 to to 1980 and was elected to the National Assembly in May of 1975 and again in February of 1980. Now, following the formation of the coalition government of the People's Action Movement of St. Kitts and the Nevis Reformation Party, Daniel assumed the portfolios of Minister of Finance and Nevis Affairs on February 19th, 1980. Yes, NRP and PAM was in a coalition together. He gained home rule for Nevis under the Independence Constitution in September 1983. And Daniel was the first premier from September 19th, 1983 to June 2nd, 1992. Dr. Daniel established the Bank of Nevis Limited in 1965. He was among the men and women who brought the Four Seasons Resort in 1991 and the Nevis Sixth Form College in 1981. Now, Daniel Brantley and Associates, which is the law firm he started, is a full-service law firm that represents, numerous businesses and individuals in St. Kitts and Nevis and I think in Angola and throughout the region and, of course, internationally. The firm was founded by Daniel and later joined by Mark Brantley, who is the current Premier of Nevis, in 1996. Daniel died from cancer on May 27, 2012, and was buried with full military honors. Now, I wanted to make Lee Moore, he is not a national hero, but he too died in the month of May. He died on May 6th, 2000. Now, Sir Lee Llewellyn Moore served as Premier of St. Kitts and Nevis from May 20th, 1979 to February 21st, 1980. He was a member of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. He was educated at King's College London, where he graduated with an LLB in law and later earned an LLM and a diploma in theology. The courthouse in St. Kitts is named, or renamed rather, in his honor. So these are some very interesting facts about our national heroes and past parliamentarians, which I think would be beneficial or useful information for young people who may not know these rather interesting facts. Now I'm continuing with Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw. Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw was born September 16, 1916, and he died May 23, 1978. He was the first Premier of St. Kitts and Nevis and previously served as Chief Minister, Legislator, and Labour activist. He was from that village of St. Paul's. So if you're from St. Paul's and you're listening, feel proud that Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, who was Premier of St. Kitts and Nevis, was also from that village. If you're listening and you're from Barnesgot, you're from St. Thomas's Parish, Nevis, feel proud and know that Dr. Simeon Daniel, who is now a national hero, the former Premier, or the first Premier rather, of Nevis, he too was from Barnesgot. Now, Bradshaw was born in St. Paul's village in St. Kitts to Mary Jane Francis, a domestic servant, and William Bradshaw, a blacksmith. At 16, Bradshaw became a machine apprentice at the St. Kitts Sugar Factory, where he began to take interest in the labor movement. In 1940, he left the sugar factory following a strike for higher wages and joined the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union as a clerk. Bradshaw succeeded Joseph Matthew Sebastian as president of the union in 1944. In 1963, he married Mildred Sahili. They had one daughter, Isis Carla Bradshaw, together. His first daughter, Etsu Bradshaw, is from an earlier relationship. Bradshaw supported the cause of the sugar workers and was one of the political stalwarts in the country. In 1945, he became the president of the recently created St Kitts and Nevis Anguilla Labour Party. He entered politics in 1946 and won a seat in the Legislative Council in the elections that year, later becoming a member of the Executive Council. Now, in 1956, he was a minister of Trade and Production for St Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla during the short-lived West Indies Federation, which was from 1958 to 1962. Bradshaw was elected to the Federal House of Representatives and held the post of Minister of Finance for the Federation. After the breakup of the Federation, Bradshaw returned to St. Kitts from Trinidad. In 1966, he became Chief Minister, and in 1967, the first Premier of St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla, then an associated state of the United Kingdom. Now, under his leadership, all sugar lands, as well as the Central Sugar Factory, were bought by the government. Opposition to Bradshaw's rule began to build. Opposition was especially great in Nevis, where it was felt that the island was being neglected and unfairly deprived of revenue, investment, and services by its larger neighbor. Bradshaw mainly ignored Nevis's complaints, but Nevisian disenchantment with the Labour Party proved a key factor in the party's eventual fall from power. Opposition in Anguilla was even stronger, with people from Anguilla evicting St. Kitts police from their island and holding referendums in 1967 and 1969, both times voting overwhelmingly to secede from St. Kitts and Nevis and remain a separate British territory. Bradshaw died, as I said, on the 23rd day of May in 1978. And he was succeeded by his former deputy, Paul Southwell. And just to speak more about his legacy, in 1996, Bradshaw was posthumously awarded the title of First National Hero by the National Assembly of St. Kitts and Nevis and is honored annually on National Heroes Day, which is observed on his birthday. On the inaugural National Heroes Day in 1998, the Golden Rock Airport in St. Kitts was renamed the Robert L. Bradshaw International Airport in his honor. In 2007, the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw Memorial Park was dedicated at his birthplace in St. Paul's. On September 17, 2010, the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw Building was dedicated to the Windsor University School of Medicine campus in Keyon. Now, we are going to Paul Southwell. That is Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell. I don't think people or many persons know that Mr. Paul Southwell was born in Dominica. He was born in Dominica. I'm not certain of the exact village, but he was born in Dominica on July 18, 1913, and he died in St. Lucia on May 18, 1979, and he was the second premier and first chief minister of St. Kitts and Nevis in the Caribbean. And he also worked as a teacher, a police officer, very interesting, and a trade unionist. Um, his parents were Joseph and Amelia Southwell. Now, at the age of 13, Southwell became a teacher and later joined the Leeward Islands Police Force in 1938. He served in Antigua, Montserrat, St Kitts and Nevis, and Anguilla until he retired from the force in 1944. Southwell became an employee in 1994, that is, of the St Kitts Sugar Factory, where he worked as a timekeeper and assistant stock clerk until the end of the sugar factory workers' strike in 1948. Southwell joined the St Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union and St Kitts and Nevis Workers' League, which is now the St Kitts Nevis Labour Party, in 1946 and remained vice president of the union from 1946 up until his death. He was first elected to the St Kitts Nevis Anguilla Legislative Council in 1952. Southwell was appointed to the Executive Council in 1955 and served as the first Minister of Communications and Works in 1956. I think this is very interesting information, as I assume that, or I know that there are a lot of people out there who may not know this information in terms of where our national heroes were from. Again, I'm speaking of those who passed on, where our national heroes were from, the meaning of their names, the exact village where they were born, their early life. We just know that, okay, this is Paul Southwell, or this is Robert Bratcher from St. Paul's, or this is Dr. Daniel from Banscott. That's all we know. Or this is Joseph Nathaniel France, or whatever. We don't know the specific details. Now, Southwell died of a heart disease on May 18, 1979, less than 1 year after he became premier. He died in Castries, St. Lucia, and the death occurred during a meeting of the West Indies Associated States Council of Ministers. The industrial park in St. Kitts was named in his honor. Joseph Nathaniel France was born in Mount Lily Nevis on September 16, 1907. He is the son of Thomas and Mary France. Comrade France went to St. Kitts at the tender age of 13 to spend school holiday with his relatives at Newtown, Bastia. Before the holidays ended, he was offered a job as the office boy with the St. Kitts Nevis Universal Benevolent Association Limited, a friendly society then called The Union, at its office on Keon Street near West Square. His parents in Nevis consented for him to take the job only on the condition that he continued his schooling at some evening class in St. Kitts. The office bearers of the St. Kitts Nevis Universal Benevolent Association Limited were President Fred Solomon, an undertaker who was succeeded by J. Matthew Sebastian, a school teacher, Secretary J. A. Nathan, a retail merchant, and G. Wilkes, a barber. Now, these men have all passed on, of course. The founders of this friendly society had intended to form a trade union, but the colonial government of that time prohibited the formation of any trade union in St. Kitts, and the ban was enacted in 1916 by the Legislative Council. The founders therefore had to change the intended organization to a friendly society so as to avoid a clash with the laws of the day. This is some very, very, very interesting information. But I don't want to be talking for the entire program, as the name of the program is What Do You Know About Our National Heroes? And let me just add to that, what do you know about our national heroes who have passed on? So the phone lines are now open. You can call us at 466-0989, 762-0989, and 662-0989. Remember, we have our WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204, 662-2204. We are taking a look back at our national heroes, those who have passed on. If we have no calls at this time, we will take a short break to say thank you to our sponsors, and when we return, we will continue our program for this morning. You are listening to WINN FM 98.9 for another edition of Inside the News with Devon Cornelius.
Gift for Dad's birthday? Click. Ooh, Janice's retirement party? Click. Ah, outfit for my girl's wedding? Click.
With TDC Airbox, you click, we ship. Register for your free U.S. mailbox today and shop all your favorite stores online. Enjoy the convenience, free consolidation up to £10, competitive rates, free package tracking account with live notifications, free delivery, and of course, excellent customer service. Visit our website at tdcairbox.com and register today. For more information, visit our offices at the C.A. Paul Industrial Site in St. Kitts and Penny's Industrial Site in Nevis. Follow us on social media at TDC Airbox. TDC Airbox. You click, we ship. Terms and conditions apply.
At The Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of The Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and 0 annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Basse-Terre or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get your Platinum Loyalty Card today because you deserve platinum. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Inside the News here on WINN FM 98.9. We have some calls on the line. Good morning, caller. You are live on Inside the News.
Good morning, Deborah. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing good, thanks. And you?
You see, Nevis have 2 national heroes.
Hello?
You see that Nevis has 2 national heroes.
Yes.
Even though Nevisians say, ask the question, what has France done for Nevis? Now, let me start with the first 3. Bratcher, Southwell, and France.
Okay.
Some calls when I finish. There is no question that they all did well for the workers, eh?
Right.
You're looking back at the days when workers' rights were very limited.
Yes.
And unionism was new, because it started in 1940. And the power of the planters was great. So that there was a need, because you're talking about 1935 with the buck. There was no union. Unionism was allowed after that, after the Moyne Commission. Because the head of the labor union in Britain was part of the commission. And he was surprised that we didn't have unionism down here. So he allowed them, through their thing, to allow them to change the law. Now, Mr. Bratcher, out of the 3, was the most vocal. You know something like Douglas? St. Paul's thing. Maybe a Rollins Village thing, because most of the people from St. Paul's come from Rollins Village.
Yeah. And remember, I said both of them,
same kind of people.
Llewellyn,
my mother's father from Rollins Village, a Freeman.
Yes.
The Freeman.
And
that is why I'm so strong.
Denzel is Llewellyn as well, and Robert is Llewellyn.
So, so the three of them, you read the beginning. They were workers and they got fired and everything, and they joined the union. Now, Mr. France deserved maybe the most credit out of the three of them. But he was a humble man, never spoke much. I don't know if he had a speech impediment, but he was intelligent. Because people have the idea that France was somehow slow. He was educated. He educated himself of the MIS. If you go to the archives, you can read intelligent, coherent articles he wrote in the same paper. St Kitts Union, the Union Messenger. But he had this low profile. I think because the kind of spirit, you have somebody who's robust, bombastic. Now, among the three of them, Mr. Southwell, to me, deserved the most credit. He was the most progressive of the three of them. Mr. Bratcher was tied to the sugar industry because that's where most of the people were and everything. And he was content. He wasn't so keen on diversifying the economy. Because there was a cry. And even this land issue here, people talking about. The land issue came about because the owner of the land, remember the sugar was not earning anything, eh? Most of the estates were almost going into bankruptcy. Because sometimes we get half a story. There was a commission of inquiry into the sugar industry in 1965. Those who want to read, go down to the archives. You will see the estates were complaining of making losses, can't get enough workers, because the young people were running to the Virgin Islands. So, still persisted. They were saying, look, we're going to have to shut down this industry because we are losing. And so, they offered the lands to him. People are making it like he took away the land. He didn't take away the land, eh? So, discard that thought. He did not take away the land. The issue came up about the payment. But they offered him the land. But Southwell, he was more progressive. He was a lover of the arts, eh? Put on plays and everything. And he was Afro-conscious. Something Mr. Bratcher was not. Mr. Bratcher was always dressed in his top hat and his scissors coat. Mr. Southwell wore his dashiki. If you see a picture, you will see him and his wife in a dashiki with her head in turban, while Mr. Bratcher was a colonialist. Right? And so he, Mr. Southwell, introduced tourism, the golf course, and stuff like that. Mr. Bratcher left St. Kitts in 1958 and went to Trinidad to be a minister in the federal government. And as I said, if he did not break up, he would not have come back. Sometimes we overlook the truth, Mr. Southwell then was left to carry on the country. He was the first chief minister, Mr. Southwell. Because remember, the Workers' League became the Labour Party in 1960.
Yes.
Because what happened, the Workers' League used to have things, it was just like an association. They had sickness benefit, burial benefit.
Right.
You understand?
All the works.
Even though it had a political arm, it was still a society, put it like that.
Yes.
And so Mr. Bratcher, of course, he was made the president of the union and the president of the party. So the party leader and the union and the party were one. And after they got political power, they were then able, because they have a lot of trouble, negotiating, eh? Some of the farmers, the planters don't want to give, they give 0.5 cent and 1 cent. But after they were able to run the government, they were able, therefore, then to carry bills to the House. So they didn't have to no longer do a lot of negotiation. If you don't want to negotiate, you go into Parliament and pass a law. But Mr. Southwell, I don't think he gets enough credit in St. Kitts, because he wasn't born here. He is the most progressive of the labor thing, that industrial site, Mr. Southwell, the first one was the St Kitts gases. Some people say St Island closed, not St Island closed. The St Kitts gases was the first one, with the Judenberg. Talk about hotel. Talk about saying factories came in under Mr. Blatter later, Curtis Mattis, working for nothing, and the aim was to keep the people in the fields because we were having a short labor. Right, Mr. Daniel now, when he carried on the Nevis tradition, secession is nothing new. I forgot the name of the man because I read it in the archives. You know who was the first secessionist in Nevis?
No, I don't know. Tell me.
It was never Daniel, It was not Daniel. I forgot the name. It began with a G. Yes,
I'm not aware.
And see, it's cloaking all kind of things. Because the truth is, when you have limited funds and your base, Mr. Bratter's base, the Labour Party base, was in the agriculture sector. His constituency was in St. Kitts. And whatever development fund he got, of course, past the Prestige child was. And so, Nevis and Anguilla were neglected.
But just to let me ask you, Miss Henry, with that, because there, I think Nevisians felt, as you said, Nevisians felt that they were
they lived
right, that they were neglected.
They didn't feel it. They lived it.
By Bradshaw and the Labour Party. Hold on. That they were neglected by Bradshaw and the Labour Party. And now, and as when I was reading, there was a piece in there that says, because of that, it is why at that time the Labour Party fell. Do you believe so?
No. Remember, I tell you, secession for Nevis was not Mr. Daniel's invention. There were people who had been in the house before him, before that NRP. We used to lobby for it because of the neglect. Because what happened if you only get in so much and your base of support is in St. Kitts? Well, you fix up St. Kitts. I remember when they used to say Nevis had one light, and we got on the bay, we looked to see the one or the two lights in Charlestown. I used to spend vacation in Nevis. You got to go down to the bar to bed. You know the hot spring?
Yes.
I used to stay in Bat Village. And sometimes we go to collect water across there by the Pentecostal church where the pipe stand was. Sometimes no water out of jump pan, and you know what I mean?
Yes.
It was a reality, so they did not feel it. They lived it. They lived See? Anguillans too. Anguillans had no electricity, no phone. I mean, when St. Kitts had it. Now you're going to hear people come and say, oh, it was the colonial. It might have been the colonial, but he was the one handling the funds. So if they send it, you must know, well, look, while St. Kitts may want a road, Nevis has none. No electricity, you know what I mean? The standard of living between St. Kitts and Anguilla was wide. And of course, Nevisians coming to set every week, so when they come, they see. They must feel a certain way. So with that kind of feeling.
Do you think they feel the same way today?
I don't think so.
Why?
I don't know. But it's different because I don't live in Nevis. Because living there is different to visiting, Because most of the infrastructure, they have kind of communication, they have phone, they have water, they have electricity. So that the government that they've had since independence have really done a lot. There's no getting around it. They've actually brought Nevis up to par. Well, I'll tell you something. You know, I used to work as a statistician, right?
Yes.
And I would look at the Nevis estimates. And I would tell the workers, I said, let me tell you all something. Nevis working his way to independence. Yeah. I saw it. Because there was vast improvement in the infrastructure, housing, land, distribution, while in St. Kitts, the land was still tied up in the sugar industry.
But, Ms. Henry, with that being said, do you think, and other people have said it as well, that Nevis was working towards independence preparing its economy
I saw
for
it in the way they were doing their capital expenditure.
independence. Do you think it is something that could happen? Let me not say no, but in the near future,
Thing like what?
independence for Nevis.
Any day. They actually would have gone when they had the first thing, you know. But Mr. Parry changed his mind at the last minute because remember he agreed, eh? You know he agreed to it.
Interesting.
Do you know that?
Interesting. It's interesting.
In the House, he voted for it in the House. And then elements in St. Kitts and other elements begin to say, well, if Nevis break away, they won't have access to the central bank. They won't have access. They won't have this right and that right. Mr. Parry voted for it. And, I mean, in the House, eh?
Yes.
And when they had the election on the ground, he began to back off after he got pressure from the same Labour Party. And other elements were using different organizations saying, well, you know, Nevis is too small to go on its own. But they were carrying their own. They used to have surpluses, you know, because I used to, when I put the data together, we put St Kitts and Nevis together. When St Kitts were having deficit and so Nevis, that is under Amory, they always had a surplus. You know? And again, because of Nevisian lives, they don't make a lot of demands on the government. Maybe they don't know, eh? But people they were more self-sufficient people. So they want a house, they build a house. They want a car, they buy a car. Then they migrated heavily. So a lot of remittances were coming back. You know, so but all of the people they deserve to be heroes, eh? Because they all did a lot in their own way.
Yes.
They brought up the issue of Limo. He was a terrorist. He had this idea of he was taking the socialist thing a little too far. That was his downfall, you know. Maybe if he wasn't like that, he might have won, you know. Before Mr. Salter was buried, number one, he had to face the accusation that he was responsible. Then, before he go and bury the man, he called a meeting up at Basti High School for all civil servants and threatened people. Mr. Salter was still on the land, you know, the body on the land. Tomorrow morning, make sure everybody and he lock in government headquarters gate and permanent secretary and all. 5 minutes to 8, see people running to try to get through the gate. He let go a lot of threats. And people say, well, so if he had a humbler spirit, maybe the Labour Party would not have lost, you know. You know, when he was asked to give an account for Mr. Southwell death, he was pompous. Nobody could ask him nothing, and he bring home the body. He was planning the funeral without the family's consent. You know, so his spirit is what ruined him, eh? He was a pompous, dictatorial. You know, but I am glad to see that the countries are together. Well, Anguilla gone. And there are some people here talking about, oh, Anguilla should come back. That's ridiculous.
Right, Mr. Neat. Thank you so much. We have a few.
Well, I'm leaving room for the Labour supporters to call in.
We are still taking calls here on WINN FM 98.9 for another edition of Inside the News. We are talking about the national heroes who have passed on. The national heroes who have passed on. And what do you know about the national heroes? It is now 11:50 here in our studios at WINN FM. We are still taking your calls. We have another call. Good morning, caller. Caller, good morning. You are live on Inside the News.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Cornelius.
Good morning.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm living, thanks for that.
Awesome.
I see this as a continuum, dovetail into the discussion you had with Mr. Stephen yesterday.
Yes, precisely.
I hope you would admit that Mr. Stapleton needs more airplay than just hour and a half.
Yes, well, definitely, definitely, we will be getting him, to come back too, because he has a lot of information that he would want to share, and that I would want him to share for our people to know.
Yes, you have to remember that our esteem, what we consider to be ancestors now, has done a tremendous job on lending their voice, apart from literature, spoken voice, like Proban Innes and Elder ancestor Washington Archibald. They were two of the most vocal historians within their rights as to letting the people know via the mediums like, registration of the history and what they are to be proud of. If anything I can extrapolate from the conversation yesterday, and you're speaking of national heroes today, is that, and also I have heard a gentleman, which I agree, suggested that those brave gentlemen who have started it all at the Buckley's estate, their monuments should be enshrined into the same national park, Heroes Park, at Litmus. And I agree. One of the things that Mr. Stapleton really, really lamented on, and he used best practices from within our regions. Now, we have global people, but within our regions, is that this injustice towards those brave gentlemen would not have gone on for that long in other neighboring islands. And this is one of the things that has made our people not appreciative of the tremendous sacrifices of our people, and other things that tend to make us feel like, oh, the blood that flows through our veins now, it was just prescribed to me and me and me alone. It did not emanate from nowhere, and it would not be passed on. And that is sacrosanct. It is sacrosanct. Because if you know how other persons uphold and appreciate their bloodline, and you will hear it comes out of our people's mouth. So those who have built the foundation in the past, and those who are, of the complete era, has nothing to offer, nothing to lend us, nothing that we can look back to say, well, this is a best practice, nothing that they have said, nothing that they have done that we have benefited today from. That is sacrosanct of the highest order. And I'm appealing to our people to please to listen to the voices of those complete persons in the past, because it's only the past that is complete. We are still on our journey. And the only way we can develop and benefit is to go back to the source, refreshen ourselves, and continue our journey. That's all I wish to say, apart from I disagree with Mrs. Henry in terms of what the contribution of Bradshaw, if he was Afrocentric enough, or if Mr. Southwood was Afrocentric enough in terms of his attire, because I was told that Mr. Bradshaw had brought certain trees that are not, indigenous to St Kitts and Nevis, but was indigenous to the African continent. And after his death, and at his home down at Portland, I have gotten certain books gotten a read of certain books from that area, where you would have seen that he was widely read And the rumor was that I don't know, because I don't know if that or the technology was available, that he would have traced his ancestry back to the Akan people in Ghana, the Asante people in Ghana. But, be that as it may, certain staff and sticks and so what I was told he did have was from the African continent. So everyone was Afrocentric conscious in their own way, be it in an attire, be it in what food or tree plant that they would have brought to the island. And in all due respect, all in all of them contributed to what we are today. Thanks for listening.
And thank you so much for your input. We'll just take one more call if we have any calls. We have no calls, so we will just wrap up our program for today. Let me say thank you to all our listeners and those who participated. There is a comment before I go. There's a comment on our Facebook live stream which says, I think in modern times, William Herbert should have been a national hero. He created CBI. He is the father of CBI in the entire world. That is a comment from Trevor Richardson. Trevor Richardson on our Facebook Live. You are listening to Inside the News on WINN FM 98.9 with your host for today, Devon Cornelius. Let me say thank you to all of you who joined us via the different social media platforms, and those of you who called and participated in our program today. And of course, those of you who took time out of your busy schedule to listen. For this afternoon, we will be continuing this program, and we will be going more or talking more about these national heroes who have passed on. The national heroes who have passed on. Thank you, and have a good lunch, and stay tuned for the headline news. We will be back at 12:30. Have a good one.
You found the sound. 98.9. WINN FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Carib Brewery.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs. And make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs. And make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, Dalil Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
With the WIN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown. Making the headlines, PANCAP launches a social contracting toolkit to boost HIV response. In Barbados, the Attorney General urges Barbadians to stick to the protocols ahead of Monday's phased reopening. And a leading health official says COVID-19 infections are tapering off. Internationally, Sri Lanka's government says it will no longer force Muslims and Christians to cremate the remains of family members who have died from COVID-19. Now the details. With COVID-19 disruptions to health services threatening to undermine the HIV/AIDS situation in the region, health officials are launching a toolkit designed to optimize the use of available resources. It's called the Social Contracting Toolkit to boost HIV response during COVID-19 and was launched on Friday, February 26th by the Pan-Caribbean Partnership Against HIV and AIDS. PANCAP's director, Dr. Rosamond Adams, hoped the toolkit can boost relationships and partnerships that will improve or at least maintain the gains made in the region's HIV response. The consultant responsible for the toolkit, Veronica Sinak, identifies a process that includes securing the political will of government and civil society organizations, readiness assessment, analysis of legal and regulatory framework, an implementation process, and a roadmap for sustainability. Executive Director of the Caribbean Vulnerable Communities Coalition, Ivan Cruikshank, described civil society as the backbone of the Caribbean's response to HIV. Quote, they reach the most vulnerable who are in urgent need of access to health, he said while applauding the PANCAP initiative. The PANCAP Toolkit for Social Contracting is expected to be presented digitally to governments and civil society organizations across the region.
The Honorable Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis, has welcomed the announcement by MSR media producer Philip Martinez that the UK Film and Television Production Company intends to shoot a total of 6 films on the island. Martinez's announcement that a total of 6 films will be shot on Nevis came while the Premier was visiting the set for the first day of filming for 1 year off at Chrissy Beach, Nevis. Brantley told the Department of Information the announcement today that the original 2 movies to be filmed in Nevis has increased to 6 movies is great news for the island and the fledgling film industry that we are seeking to develop. Martinez revealed MSR Media's intention to shoot all 6 movies on the island over the next year. He thanked the Premier for his hospitality and the partnership and extended thanks to the various government ministries and officials who continue to assist the film company's undertakings. MSR Media and the Nevis Island Administration signed an agreement for the production of 2 films on Nevis in 2021, the first being 1 Year Off, which is scheduled to finish filming in May 2021. For the first film, 1 Year Off, 30 locals and residents have been hired full-time with the film crew. 8 have been cast for speaking roles in the film, and more than 160 persons have secured roles as supporting artists.
In Barbados, the Attorney General urges Barbadians to stick to the protocols ahead of Monday's phased reopening. This report from Barbados today.
Ahead of Monday's phased reopening of the country, Attorney General Dale Marshall is urging Barbadians to stick to the protocols. New measures will see the reopening of public markets, fish markets, and the resumption of wayside vending and other key services. Restaurants will be allowed to provide curbside pickups, drive-through services, and delivery, but bars will remain closed. The AG, however, warned that all activity will be closely monitored in a bid to keep a lid on new COVID infections.
The COVID unit will be out in force over the next 2 weeks. They have been out in force before, but we are supplementing the manpower resources so that we can have as many people on the ground monitoring how Barbadians behave as possible. And as the Prime Minister has said again and again and again, based on how Barbadians behave, deal with each other, respect the COVID protocols, operate with a sense of propriety and wisdom, we would be able to decide what happens after that. But the caveat is always there that should Barbadians not follow the protocols, not follow good sense, then we will have to take things into our own hands and tighten up once more, and we know that none of us want that to happen.
An elderly Barbadian man died from COVID-19 on Thursday, bringing the death toll to 33. The 79-year-old died at a nursing home. On Thursday, the island recorded 45 new cases. Active cases stand at 691. The 45 consists of 21 women and 24 men. 7 were already at Harrison Point, and the remaining 38 are Barbadians. The island has so far recorded 2,994 COVID-19 cases, and 2,270 people have recovered. The Public Health Lab has so far conducted 124,392 tests. Senior Medical Officer for Health, Dr. Anton Best, told this evening's press conference COVID-19 infections are tapering off. He said the current positivity rate is about 5%, and the aim is to reduce it even further.
We had a gradually rising positivity rate from the beginning of the year when this outbreak started, and it peaked around the 14th of February, around the 14th, 15th of February, and since then there's been a decreasing positivity rate, which is a good sign, and that's a trend that we want to keep up. The other indices that we pay attention to are the total number of cases. We do look at the what we call the rolling average, 7-day rolling average, and that gives us a sense as to what is happening, where is this epidemic going. And when we do that, we also see that the overall trends are speaking to the epidemic easing up. Of course, that does not mean that we can forget all of the things that we've been told that we need to do. We need to continue doing all of those measures. We need to continue paying attention to our hand hygiene, wearing your face mask at all times, and remembering physical distancing, in addition to the other measures that we have been implementing.
Dr. Best added that the near month-long national shutdown worked.
We needed time to pause. We needed time to slow down, to gather ourselves, to be able to do contact tracing. We also had the Seek and Save program out, as you would recall, which has come to an end. And we needed that. So we in the Ministry of Health definitely needed that. We also needed to stop the rise in the incidence of COVID-19. And we have achieved that. Of course, we would have wanted to see a greater reduction in the incidence, But understand that we are dealing with a very vicious strain of COVID-19, one that we did not have to deal with last year. It is far more contagious. So therefore, that would explain why we're seeing the kind of numbers that we're seeing now compared to the first outbreak and the first wave. We didn't see those kind of numbers previously. So yes, from a public health perspective, we have achieved our objectives.
In Guyana, the opposition leader meets with police atop a brass. Guyana News Source has this report.
I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking. Opposition leader Joe Harmon and a team from the APNU AFC met this afternoon with Acting Police Commissioner Nigel Hoppy and senior officers of the Guyana Police Force on a number of issues of concern. During the hour-long meeting, Mr. Harmon said he made known to the top cop that the force's posture in dealing with certain matters is not one that instills full confidence in the entire population.
As I said to them also, that we believe that the police force has to engender confidence in the population, and that to the extent to which the perception is that some part of the police force have been weaponized to act against the best interests of us in the opposition and generally to some of our constituents, that we believe that is something which has to be corrected very, very early.
During the meeting, the opposition leader said he raised the recent issue of members of parliament for the APNU AFC being prevented from entering the compound of the National Assembly while the president was addressing the parliament. He said a promise was made by the commissioner to investigate the claims that have been made.
This is our first meeting with him, and I think he was genuinely concerned about the issues which we raised. He promised to inquire into them. He promised to take certain steps in relation to some of them, and we will give him some time. We'll give him some time to deal with those issues.
Mr. Harmon also raised the issue of the enforcement of the COVID-19 guidelines. The Guyana Police Force has been heavily criticized for its failure to effectively enforce the curfew and other measures related to stemming the spread of COVID-19.
COVID-19 enforcement, because we consider that to be the preeminent issue in our country at this time, because it has to do with life and death. And the fact that many citizens were of the view that the enforcement of these measures by the Guyana Police Force was not consistent with their obligations, we felt it was necessary to make that point up front, that COVID-19 enforcement measures have to be better. Too many citizens are losing their lives. Very soon we will get to about 200. We're at 190 something right now. And if we continue to do that, it is the resources of our country, that human resource of our country, that is diminished on a daily basis.
And on the matter of the appointment of a substantive police commissioner, Mr. Harmon believes that he should be consulted before any such appointment is made. The post will become vacant in May, when Police Commissioner Leslie James officially heads into retirement. Commissioner James has been on accumulated leave and pre-retirement leave for more than 6 months. More news coming up in just a moment.
GTT is celebrating our 30th year of proudly serving Guyana. You're invited to join the celebration with 30% off your internet for 3 months when you sign up for Blaze high-speed internet powered by Plume Home Pass. Promotion runs from January 29th to February 28th. Take advantage of this offer today using promotional code BLAZE330. Visit gtt.gy Blaze discount 17 for full details. GTT and you, together we rise.
We now bring you these international reports.
It's hard enough losing a loved one to COVID-19, but in Sri Lanka, Muslims and Christians who've died during the pandemic have been forcibly cremated against the beliefs of their relatives. The policy was introduced last April after Buddhist monks said burials could infect groundwater with the coronavirus. The World Health Organization says there's no risk of this. The parents of a 20-day-old baby that died of the virus were among those denied the chance to bury their child.
When we called the hospital, they said the baby had died. Only then did the doctor say the PCR test was positive, so we can't give you the body. They said there are rules brought in and that the cremation can be done even without my signature. that they went ahead and did as they wished.
More than 450 people have died of COVID-19 in Sri Lanka. More than half were Muslim, even though they make up just 10% of the population. Community leaders say people fear seeking treatment and being cremated if they die. Activists say the government's reversal of policy happened only because of a request from Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan and criticism from the UN Human Rights Council.
Like this whole reversal of the policy has made us to think Sri Lankan citizens can only get their rights that is enshrined in our constitution by only through international pressure. There is no way. We went to court, we went to Supreme Court, we went to almost every judicial process possible. Nothing changed.
Sri Lanka's health ministry gave no reason for the decision to reverse the ban, but on Twitter, Pakistan's Prime Minister thanked his Sri Lankan counterparts. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera.
Eritrean and Ethiopian forces began their attack on the town of Axum with indiscriminate shelling, according to rights group Amnesty International. It's released these videos and a report. It says on the 28th of November last year, Tigrayan militia and civilians tried to fight back. Some of them armed with only sticks and stones, attacking Eritrean soldiers on this hill. It says the militia failed and the reprisals were brutal. According to dozens of testimonies, Amnesty says Eritrean troops came into the town and executed hundreds of civilian men and teenage boys. This video shows the body of one of them.
People describe harrowing scenes of people running and being shot in the back, or people being, lined up one behind the other and executed by Eritrean soldiers.
Eritrea's government didn't respond to our requests for comment. It has previously denied its troops were in Ethiopia. Ethiopia's government, in a statement, questioned the accuracy of Amnesty's sources and said it was committed to undertake investigations. In early November, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sent federal forces into the Tigray region. He said it was a law enforcement operation to topple the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front that had dominated Ethiopia's politics and military for nearly 3 decades before Abiy came to power. When government troops took control of the regional capital, Mekelle, Abiy declared the operations over. But there have been reports of low-level fighting ever since. Researchers say these satellite images taken last week show hundreds of structures destroyed by fire in the town of Gijet.
Full return to stability is a work in progress, but there is no doubt the situation keeps on improving, allowing better movement of humanitarian operations, except for a few pocket areas where there is sporadic shooting by these remnants.
Access to the conflict areas has been heavily restricted. Information about what happened in Tigray in recent months steadily seeps out, and with it, a growing number of reports of atrocities by all sides. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera.
It was a dramatic moment. In the UN General Assembly Hall, the ambassador of Myanmar using his speech to speak out strongly against the events in his own country.
Myanmar military has become the existential threat for Myanmar as a polity and civilized society.
His voice was trembling as he continued.
And strong support from the international community is imperative for the people of Myanmar in our fight against the military regime.
As he finished his speech, he gave a three-fingered salute, the message of defiance that's become a trademark gesture of the protesters in his country. Other ambassadors praised him for his courageous stand, among them the brand new US ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield in her first full day in her job.
We urge every member state here today to use any channel available to tell the Myanmar military that violence against the people of Myanmar will not be tolerated. Together, we all show the people of Myanmar that the world is watching. We hear them, and we stand with them.
The UN's Special Envoy, Christine Schraner-Bergener, has been trying to visit Myanmar, but she said permission for the trip has not been granted.
Regrettably, the current regime has so far asked me to postpone any visit. It seems they want to continue making large-scale arrests and have been forcing people to testify against the NLD government. This is cruel and inhuman.
Such a powerful session in the General Assembly now puts pressure on the part of the UN that has real teeth, the Security Council, to take action. But it's worth remembering one of the permanent members of the Council is China. It has veto power. And the Chinese ambassador in the General Assembly meeting said that his country largely sees the situation in Myanmar as an internal matter. James Bays, Al Jazeera, at the United Nations.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 headline news. Our top stories were: PANCAP launches a social contracting toolkit to boost HIV response. In Barbados, the Attorney General urges Barbadians to stick to the protocols ahead of Monday's phased reopening. And a leading health official says COVID-19 infections are tapering off. Internationally, Sri Lanka's government says it will no longer force Muslims and Christians to cremate the remains of family members who have died from COVID-19. Thank you for listening.
That was the WINN FM Headline News. The Headline News was brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, and Caribbean.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
We are faced with tough decisions every day, but choosing the right home or motor insurance shouldn't be one. You need fast claim settlement from a company that's been rooted for over 31 years. And don't forget the A Excellent rating by AM Best. Make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Reliable insurance that you can count on. Get a quote today for your home, motor, contents, and liability insurance needs, and make the intelligent choice. Caribbean Alliance. Tomorrow secured. Local agents, DeLeo Walwyn & Co. Limited. Telephone 465-2631 or 469-5303 for the Nevis office.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
The Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of The Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and 0 annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Basse-Terre or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get your Platinum Loyalty Card today because you deserve platinum. Terms and conditions apply.
Imagine a place that has all that you need, all of the things for your business to succeed. Furniture, copiers, laptops and more. TDC Business Center is your #1 store. Print and copy and scan and fax. Our copy center does all of that. If you're having a party and you need chairs and tents, we've got all your needs and grand rentals for rent. The TDC Business Center has everything your business needs. Superior copy and printing services, business equipment and furniture, and a wide array of renting materials for all occasions. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Inside the News. Thank you guys so much for staying tuned. Good afternoon to all of you who are still on our Facebook and YouTube live streams and of course via the different social media platforms. Don't forget to share the live so that other persons can be a part of our program this afternoon on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and we are taking a look at what do you know about our national heroes, those who have passed on. Of course, we welcome your calls later on in the program. The numbers to call again are 466-0989, 762 and 662. Also, we have our WhatsApp number, which is 662-2204, 6604. Remember, that number is not for calling. It is just for you to send a message, a comment, whatever, for you to be a part of the program. I asked the question earlier on the Facebook stream. Who do you think should be named the 6th national hero of St. Kitts and Nevis? Who do you think should be named the 6th national hero of St. Kitts and Nevis? Call us today and give us your feedback as to who you believe has been doing a very, very good work within our communities, within our society here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and have been making a significant contribution to the social, economic development of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Inside the News. Oh, we seem to have lost that call. Caller, you can call us back at 466-0989, 762-1662. Caller, good afternoon. You are live.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, calling to make some comments.
Sure, go ahead.
Something, I believe you're way too young to know that today would have been the celebration of statehood, 27th of February, 1967.
Of what, sorry?
When saying, hello?
Yes, you said of statehood?
Statehood, yes.
Okay.
Today, 27th of February, 1967. That's when we obtained our statehood. That is when England officially united the three islands together. St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla. We had a different anthem. St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla. We pledge our lives to thee. I don't know. They didn't teach you that in school?
No.
Hello?
No, they did not.
But that's a big mistake in the history of the Federation, if you understand what I'm speaking of, right? Because we're talking about national heroes, right? National heroes came off of that day. After Buckley, right, and them kind of different things, right, because of future development, right? And then became the chief unity state. And then we had a celebration too, you know, because I had Queen Show and different things in different islands. And then he had a Queen Show in Anguilla. And the people in Anguilla, I'm sorry, I can't understand why Sylvan Henry didn't tell you these things. The people in Anguilla stone policemen and all kind of things in Anguilla. And
Yes,
from the
I made reference to that.
From the statehood came the overthrow. Same year, the 10th of June. If you understand what I'm speaking of. There's a lot of things people ain't talking about, and like men understand it. We're talking about national heroes, right? And why should Sylvan Henry be pulling Robert Bradshaw name to the mud? If you understand what I'm speaking of. And he was then speaking of the sugar industry. Because I want to tell you something, too, right? He got a song, a great calypso named King Arrow, the sing, the dream. Because Bradshaw, Shane Keller, they tell the public that Bradshaw went and he nationalized the sugar industry. First it was Cyril, and then he nationalized the sugar industry. And then he took away some land, but couldn't understand why he really did do that. Because Simmons, Baptiste, and other persons had land somewhere like Ross University is now today. Bradshaw went and he carried soldiers them down there, and he rooted up down there, and he planted sugar because way along the line, they say sugar going to bringing in a large sum of money. But to me, you don't destroy one crop for a next because this crop don't come in. Let the people in with their crop because totally against it. But yet still, he then still went into agriculture because we were self-sustained. And then she talking and talking. She children were a beneficiary of Basket Secondary High School where Bradshaw bring into being in St. Kitts. She also taught at the Basket Senior High School that can't understand why Sylvan Henry hit Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw of first 9 national hero. It's like I don't know what he do. Sometimes when certain people talking, right? I must not let them drag our national heroes' name to the ground. Cut them off. It ain't right. It ain't fair. You should never allow this thing to continue to be happening. Good afternoon.
Caller, thank you so much for your input. You are listening to Inside the News on WINN FM 98.9, and we are still taking your calls for you to be a part of this discussion. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 762 and 662. And we have our WhatsApp number where you can send us a text message at 662-2204, 662-2204. Now, for those that needed, I did some research on the statehood, which was February 28th, according to this website called Historic St Kitts, the National Archives, Government Headquarters. Statehood February 28th, 1967. It says the West Indies Federation was an experiment in unity for the English-speaking Caribbean and should have resulted in an independent West Indian nation. Now, after long discussions, it came into being in 1958. Elections took place that year, but Jamaica and Trinidad did not join the new political unit with the same commitment as the other islands. Economic prosperity meant that these two islands did not feel the need to be a part of a larger grouping to achieve independence. Now, the fact that the Federation did not have a source of funds for its own use also damaged its longevity. The end came in 1962, barely 4 years after it had been launched. The idea of federation was not abandoned by the smaller islands. A Little 8 grouping with Barbados was discussed, but when that island chose to seek independence on its own, Grenada soon followed, and the remainder attempted a smaller union, which eventually emerged as the OECS. For those that needed more preparation to move towards independence, the concept of associated state with Great Britain was created. St Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla was the first to take the new status. Now, under this constitution, the state of St. Christopher, Nevis, and Anguilla had the authority to make decisions on internal affairs, while Britain retained responsibility for external affairs. The Premier now presided over cabinet meetings, and the cabinet was collectively responsible for the actions of individual ministers in the execution of his or her work. The new state was responsible for all internal matters. That same year, Anguilla chose a different destiny. Very interesting information, and for those of you who are listening, because it's always a learning experience. It is always a learning experience. So we are still taking your calls. As I said, this was a question I asked on the Facebook live stream. Who do you think should be named the 6th national hero? Call us and give us your opinion and say why, they should be honored as such for the work they have done, work they are still doing in our community. We are still welcoming your calls. To those of you who have joined us, good afternoon to those of you on the Facebook and YouTube live streams, and good afternoon to those of you in the radio land. Good afternoon to my Nevis people. I hope you guys are having a good one. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Today is the 27th day of February 2021, and it is indeed good to be alive. I am happy to be alive. So many persons did not wake up today, but we are here, and we should give thanks and be happy that we are able to breathe the breath of life today, the 27th day of February. It is 41 minutes past the hour of 12:41 here in our studios at WINN FM 98.9. The phone lines are open, so we welcome your calls. If we have no calls, we want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors. Without them, this program would not have been possible. So let's say thank you to our sponsors, and when we return, we will continue our program today. You are listening to Inside the News on WINN FM 98.9.
At The Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of The Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and 0 annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Bastere or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get your Platinum Loyalty Card today because you deserve platinum. Terms and conditions apply.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
We have a call. Caller, good afternoon. You are live on Inside the News. We lost that caller. We have another call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Inside the News.
Good afternoon, Devon. It's me again.
Good afternoon, Miss Henry.
Well, let me start, Keshwai. I'm not trying to drag down Mr. Bratcher's name. We have to learn to face the facts. I'm not saying he did a lot of good, but I am saying that Mr. Southwell deserves more credit than he got. Plain and simple. And we must stop, because we should say Bratcher, Southwell, and France. This thing of glorifying Mr. Bratcher alone. And if you read the thing, there were already 3 of them. Mr. France's birth date is the same as Mr. Bratcher's own. You notice that?
Yes. February 6th.
And he gets no attention.
September 16th.
And he was in the movement before Mr. Bratcher. He was the General Secretary of the Union until he retired. By the time it starts, tired. You can't beat that. When the Workers' League was formed in 1932, he was there. He had an executive position. So we have got to learn, we build up a cult. We built up a cult around Mr. Bratcher, that's all. And we don't want to face the facts. He did well. Because the question is to be asked, why would the country fall under him in 1967? Because remember, they were going for Associated States, eh? And until he became the chief minister, the association or the presidency, as it used to become, fell apart. Because they were no longer the British to blame. Now you asked a question, so let me answer the question. And for all those who dishonor Mr. Bratcher, I honor all of the national heroes, and I say more credit should be given to Mr. France and Mr. Southwell. Because without them, Mr. Bratcher could never achieve anything. If he turned off and go and leave the country, he actually gave up his seat, Do you know that?
Yes.
He gave up his seat to go to Trinidad. And when they were demanding, the federation broke up, and he come back and they were demanding. He was made a minister with a portfolio. And there were elements, give him back his position. And the 1966 election, which the Labour Party won, Mr. Bracha, Mr. Southwell should have been made the first premier. What happened? Mr. Bracha reached to the government house before Mr. Southwell and was the premier. We got to face the facts. I have nothing against him. All I say, Mr. Now, let me answer the question. I think the three persons, or at least two of them, because one of them was killed accidentally. You know the Bucklers Uprising?
Yes.
One of them was shot. He was not a part of the protest or the strike. That was I don't quite remember his name, but he was on his way home working at the sugar factory. And, you know, the military letting go shots all down the road after the people. And he was shot. But when you look at the impact of the strike on the whole economy of St. Kitts, social, economic, cultural, then the men who died during the Bucklers riot should be named as national heroes. You're not going to do any hurt if you make the trade in one time or decide to make two and leave out the one who was accidentally killed. I don't ever think about that. Because nobody, they did not have a leader like how we are trying, Mr. Bracha and trying Southwell and so, you know. These are workers, ordinary cane cutters from the village. I am from the village of Haysmith Village. The magistrate and judge declared that all the leaders and the upwriters, whatever, came from my village. So I'm saying, if you want to add another national hero other than a politician, because we had enough of those, start there. Can you think of anybody in Nevis?
If I can think of anybody in Nevis, definitely.
Who?
I think El Quemido will it, and I hope he's listening.
You see, you're going to run into problems with us, you know.
Why?
While he may be the thing, your advanced armory and all of those, a lot of Parry and all of those who were because I don't just think just making it to the West Indies. It's good, eh? He can be as a division. But you have to balance out his achievement against Parry and Amory and
I think his achievement was rather significant. He helped to put Nevis on the map.
Well, it could, because it will balance out. You'll have one more division. But I don't know where the three petitions where they came from, because you know we're from all over the place. But I think they should consider it. I just hear the Rastas talking about something of the hills. The slave rebellion. Because when you look at the other people's thing, the people who did something during slavery. But if you don't want to go so far back, and it does something for our ego, our national pride. So I think they should start, either go back, something of the hills. What's the name of the thing? I forget it all. Kalanja, calling and say. And the three, I kept saying two, but I suppose they will leave out one. But three of them were killed. They deserve to be made national heroes. And then we could sort out Willett. And who else?
That's the only one I could think of.
There were a lot of people, you know. And by the way, I want a woman in here. Time enough now, there's a lot of man's thing. You want women in here. We have a lot of women, you know. You want to read history. Women. You know, this lady, she used to be the teacher of the girls' school. I forgot her name. Isa something. I forgot the name. Miss Bradley. All people from St Kitts will tell you about Isa Bradley. When you check the Workers' League, she was a member of the executive and so. She used to do advocacy, you know. So we're not looking for political women, you know. Because we have some of them who while they make contribution, they also created strife, division, political partisan. So that is what I have to say. So think about it.
Right,
There are
thank you.
three persons who got killed during the Buckley's riot. Marcus, that's his name, Marcus of the Woods. That is the one that my good friend Kalanja wants. Do you know anything about him?
If I know anything about who?
Marcus of the Woods.
No.
Oh, well, something to find out. All right, then.
Thank you so much for your input. We have a comment from our WhatsApp number. It says, I think the next national hero should be a woman. I would recommend Constance Mitchum, who served as the first female to be elected as a parliamentarian and minister of government. I think she has been pushed under the carpet despite her achievements in politics as a woman. Let us take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Inside the News.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon.
I've been trying to get in now for the last 15 minutes, and Miss Henry, she forced me in a kind of way. I've been saying now for the last 2 years before, well, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but it's about time now that we look around and find some woman, because every time they put up a person for national hero is always a politician. And I believe that at a program, Mrs. Henry, I hope you're listening, said that she was going to find out what are the criteria for somebody being put up for national hero. And I don't think if she did come back, and if she did come back, I probably didn't listen to that program. But it's about time now that we find a woman, because I think that there are a lot of women in St. Kitts here. There are a few women in St. Kitts, and I believe even across the waters, Nevis, you should be able to find a woman. You can't be putting up all these politicians, all the while. So
Do you
if you can't find a woman in St. Kitts or Nevis as the national hero, then something is definitely wrong.
Can you think of any? Would you? Can you
Well,
think?
no, I can't think of any at all. But I know there's a lot of people out there, women out there who are alive and can be put up. But, you know, I really don't want to call any names. I just feel that they should be able to find a woman somewhere between St. Kitts and Nevis as the next national hero. I think this is the seventh national hero instead of looking for a man. And the sixth, yeah. And I guess they're going to be looking in politics, as politicians. I think we need to move away from that now and see if I was even thinking that it's about time that we have a female prime minister. You know, you get the impression that only male can run the country, and women are not capable of doing it. So that's just my little tidbit. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution. We are still taking your calls on Inside the News. I am your host for today, Devon Cornelius, and we are talking about we took a look at the work of the national heroes who have passed on. So the conversation is not really shifting, but taking a different angle where possible. Before I go there, let's take this call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Inside the News.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius. I'm back.
Good afternoon.
Something piqued my interest with the information you read about statehood on 1967, the 28th of February.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Yes, something you read. Because a trend today and the wider aspect of the West Indian Federation, I'm going to get to something also as to what someone of the Federation had to be a member as representing, I don't know if it was before the date. So I don't want to misspeak. But in terms of the wider West Indian Federation, someone of the statehood of St Kitts and Nevis and Anguilla, if that it was, if Anguilla was a part of the Triune Islands, when the West Indian Federation concept came about, someone had to go to what was it, headquarters would have probably been in Trinidad, to go there to represent. And someone had to make that sacrifice. So in the sense of Mr. Bratcher, I don't know if it was deliberated amongst themselves who would have been the person to go. Someone had to go. So when it comes to that, and then someone would have had to hold the helm locally to assume the local position. We can see some of those mechanisms in the rotation of the CARICOM and the OECS, where every year or 2 years, someone will assume chairmanship and the like. And so that came out of all of this. But let me get back to the statehood. Wow, it was interesting that the statehood, after the failure, maybe, of the West Indian Federation, the statehood was the way, the alternative way, that grew into the wider body of the OECS. And then the wider Caribbean, because we was told that Trinidad and Jamaica opt out of it. I think they would have recognized the other leaders that came by and said that former leaders has made an error, and we really got to get back, because we are not in isolation. We cannot stand in isolation. We have seen what has come to us for now, how challenging it is when such challenges come to our way, like what we are in presently now, economically. So the concept of the West Indian Federation and the statehood and the OECS and the CARICOM, I am all for that. But we here in St Kitts and Nevis today, we have to hold our shoulders high, hold our head high, because we welcome in our brothers and sisters, even though a lot of us still is in the morass of not being so welcoming to our brothers and sisters. We always were brothers and sisters. I don't know my mother's brother, if he was dropped off, or my mother's sister was dropped off on some other island. I don't know if I am turning my back on a bloodline family relative, distant. So yes, we in our small little domain, we tend to feel like, oh, I think it is too small a space to allow others to come in. But then on the other hand, given the history of what was attempted and the failure of it, and today we can welcome our brothers and sisters to our shores, we have to hold our heads up high and say that we are in a leading position, not to welcome them, but assume your leadership abilities in the land of your birth, which you should share with others. Just don't give up and feel like, oh, they're going to come and dominate. What they have that we cannot assume? It's ideas. If they come with ideas, let us extrapolate the ideas and build on what we have. How we have the foundation here.
Right.
No, king is not honored in his own land, and all of those old adage will come into play. But we have to assume it, because given our history, and to see we were the smallest region, and now we are assuming, like the Jamaicans say, we are little but we're Talawa. We are accepting brothers and sisters from bigger islands like Jamaica and Trinidad and others. We have to hold our head up high and assume our responsibilities as leaders, as trendsetters. That's my contribution. Thanks for listening.
And thank you for your contribution. You are listening to WINN FM 98.9. We are having Inside the News. We are still taking your calls, 466-0989, 762-0989. And our WhatsApp number is 662-2204, 662-2204. If we have no calls on the line, let us say we have one more call. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on our program.
Good afternoon, Mr. Cornelius.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Awesome.
It's so important that we have an accurate portrayal of our history and historical events. I keep saying that we should have an official version of our history for posterity, right? To give up-and-coming students who did not live in the times that we are talking about, to give them an unbiased account of our history, okay? We can't have 20 different narratives from 20 different people, whether these are historians or not, whether these are just people with particular agendas or biases, right? So I think the National Trust or some non-governmental agency or organization should commission an official version, okay, especially about our post-associated status and post-independence, right? I mean, I listened to Mrs. Henry's account, and in my opinion, it was a case of truth, half-truth, and spin that could make somebody who don't know any better head spin. It reminded me of the saying about statistics. There are lies, expletive lies, and there are statistics, okay? Today, we are bombarded with too much propaganda and opinion that pass as history, okay? How, for instance, could we accept the opinion that our national hero, Mr. Bradshaw, was a colonialist? Simply because he used to wear top hat and scissor-tail tuxedo? I am sure I've seen pictures of Marcus Garvey and even another national hero, Dr. Simmons, in similar attire, in similar garb. Does that make them colonialists too? I don't think so. Okay? And you know, I think when it comes to the national heroes, we have to remember they were not perfect people.
Right.
And made some serious errors. And simply because they are national heroes does not mean that their legacies cannot be scrutinized.
Right.
Okay? Bradshaw, for instance, he was very autocratic. And some might say he was a bit eccentric. And he set an unfortunate precedent or standard for our political discourse, which basically meant give the opposition hell. Okay? Because I think it probably felt because in those days the choice should have been easy. It's them against us. It was the masses against the planter class. Okay, and that kind of that kind of shall we call it philosophy or dogmatism? I think is more the word dogma. That gave. I think he took that as an excuse for all sorts of excesses on the opposing party, okay? But the thing is, one of the unfortunate legacies, as I said, is the other parties adopted it, the same kind of style, all right? And so you have this malpractice in politics continuing up to this day, right? So you have the second national hero, well, not the second national hero. I think Dr. Simmons might have been after that. He presided over some injustices as well, okay? Perhaps the most lovable one would have been that incorruptible and humble, and perhaps the most exemplary one too, in my opinion, is Joseph Nathaniel Franz. Okay, I don't think there's any controversy about his being a national hero. But we need to be more careful in our selection, I think, of national heroes. First of all, I feel they should be posthumous. Because it's hard, especially if they are political figures.
Right.
It's very difficult for them to just keep out of the fray. One way or the other, they just find themselves sucked in, whether by way of people who would refer to actions that they took before, okay? And they feel they have to defend them. So there's that thing that I think it should be posthumous. I think, too, that they should not be controversial. If we elect, if we have somebody as a national hero, it shouldn't be a national hero for half the country. And I've heard some other people saying, well, he was no national hero of mine. That something is wrong there. All right? And that is why I feel, personally, that a national hero should be elected by the people, and not just by half, by 2/3. Set the bar high.
That's an interesting suggestion.
Yeah, set the bar high, right? Because otherwise you're going to always have a controversial choice in national hero.
And if I may add there, Mr. McMahon, I remember some time ago, I think it was, well, they do it. The person makes that argument every year, but at that time they were saying they have an issue with all of the national heroes being politicians and people who were involved in politics, and the fact that nobody else was chosen to be recognized as a national hero, and they were.
And that's a valid point.
Right,
It's a completely valid point.
Yes.
Right. But regardless of what formula we choose, okay, it has to be for exceptional, whether service or performance. It has to be something exceptional.
Right.
Otherwise, we find ourselves with thousands of national heroes.
And
okay, so that is why I said the criteria for becoming one should be the bar should be set extremely high. Okay, and so that most of the country would agree that the choice is an acceptable one, and there are high standards to aim for, right? Because if you have too many of them, it kind of cheapen what a national hero should be. There are lots of other awards in between, medal of national medals and so on,
right.
That can be awarded for outstanding work. But a national hero, I mean, that should be extremely special.
Right. Well, the suggestion that you made is in my opinion, is a very good one, because imagine choosing a national hero. I don't know how they go about doing that, but let's say it's a room of 10 people choosing a national hero for the entire federation, versus the people being involved in the selection process. So you can vote and say, well...
Or at least, nothing wrong in nominating or even 10 persons putting out thing, but at least it should be ratified. If it's not an elected thing, it should at least be ratified by most of the people, so that it's non-controversial,
I agree.
I think that is what we need. But all of this is so dependent on what I started out by saying, an accurate description of our history and events, okay? Because without that, you can find all kind of spin on actions that were taken, or people taking credit for other people's hard work. I listened to somebody, for instance, talk about the CBI. Of course, the idea happened under a particular administration, but Who heard of it before that? Before let's say 2006, when the previous administration actually did things, made changes to it that really brought in, up to today, has brought in so much money, right? That has changed our, made us number one in the region.
Right.
You know, that up to today still powers our economy. No other single act has done so much for the country in the period of the last 15, 20 years, as 15 years, as that. Okay? But because of the narrative, all right, an accurate, a true picture of events, you know, that can get lost in the history and the spin and the narrative and the political discourse, you know, on the back and forth, right? So we want an accurate version of history that everybody can say, well, at least this happened. Where there is controversy, then you put that in as well. But definitely separate opinion from fact. That is absolutely necessary if you're going to have a historical account of our, you know, well, basically of our development through time. Okay.
Right. Thank you so much for your input. Let us take a short break to say thank you to our sponsors, and when we return, we'll begin wrapping up our program.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
At The Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of The Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and 0 annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Bastere or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get your Platinum Loyalty Card today because you deserve platinum. Terms and conditions apply.
Honey, I have so much to do. And now I need to go to TDC Home and Building Depot to buy the new fridge.
Samantha, stop worrying. You can purchase the fridge and whatever else you may need with TDC Home and Building Depot's curbside and delivery service.
Really?
Just send your request via WhatsApp or email, pay online, and get your purchase by pickup or delivery.
Wow! I'm going to try TDC curbside and delivery service now.
Terms and conditions apply. Check our social media pages for order details.
People make the world go
Welcome back to Inside the News on WINN FM 98.9. We are still taking your calls. The phone lines are open. Call us today at 466-0989, 762 and 662. Don't forget our WhatsApp number, 662-2204. Interesting conversation we are having. It is now 16 minutes past the hour of 1 here in our studios at WINN FM, and we will end our program at 1:30. So we will welcome just a few more calls on this very interesting conversation about national heroes. As I said earlier, the conversation shifted a bit as to who do you think should be a national hero or should have been a national hero. Very interesting conversation. We have another call. Good afternoon, caller. You are live on Inside the News.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, I think all 5 persons who are there deserve to be there as our national heroes. As a developing country and just, you could say, starting out and coming from colonial times, I think it was just, maybe you could say, natural that those forefront would have been politicians. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, would have been politicians. And if we note correctly, we have quite a diversity. We have 2 born in St Kitts, that's Mr. Bradshaw and Sir Kennedy. And we had 2 born in Nevis, which would be Sir France and Jane France, and then Sir Simeon Daniel. And then you had 1 born in Dominica, but all citizens of St Kitts and Nevis. Moving forward, I can see, yes, that we can look at females and not necessarily politicians. Could be politician, but not necessarily. But noted, someone did check up some statistics that St Kitts has probably one of the highest rates of national heroes to population. So that is something we need to look at too. We just can't flood everybody and say national heroes. We have 5 for the time being, all good people. Now, on the question of Mr. Bradshaw and his team, now all 3, Mr. Bradshaw, Mr. France, Mr. Southwell, were made national heroes. All of them may have their controversies. Some may, national heroes. And I would say, particularly for Mr. Bradshaw, as the premier of the country, no matter what happens in a country, your leadership is very important. And he gets the credit for the good, he gets the blame for the bad. So you have to always also make sure he is very much deserving in terms of the national hero. And just to point out 3 main things under his leadership, you had the nationalization of the sugar industry, not industry, but the acquisition of the sugar estate lands. People have to remember 5 families control all the sugar estate lands and the arable lands, all the mountains and the hills,
Mm-hmm.
That is what Mr. Robert Bradshaw under the Acquisition Act took. When it was settled under other administration, they gave back the hills and the valleys, and they only took some selected sugar estate lands. They gave back the hills and the valleys. That's to be noted. But even with that, it is because of that. People have to remember, when I was growing up, people lived just in the low valley area of the Bastille, and those who lived in the rural areas, many of them lived on the estate lands of the 5 families who owned the sugar estate lands. When those were nationalized, people were now able to buy lands. Government was able to use many things for development of other things, including schools and play fields and industrial sites and all the rest of it. That was started under Robert Bradshaw and his team. Also, the education system. We had a system where you had the grammar school, girls' high school, you had the convent. Those were the main high schools. And these were fee-paying. In 1967, you had the beginning of the movement towards a comprehensive system where you had universal access to secondary education, in what we call high school education, where you no longer had to pay the tuition fees. And there was a method so that you sort of equalize the system in getting that type of level of education. And that has been a boon to St. Kitts, and it has been copied. People, even though I was a planning unit at one time, and people came down from Guyana and all the other places to look at what St. Kitts was doing. Right, that started under that administration. And then, moving forward, the central bank is with us. But it started as the Eastern Caribbean Currency Authority. It was based for all the years before in Barbados. You know who brought it down? Mr. Bradshaw. He was able to make the claim, saying it was the first of the countries to be colonized. Whether we think it's a negative or bad thing, the fact is that St. Kitts is the mother colony of the Eastern Caribbean, and was able to make an agreement with the help of his his, you could say, lieutenant, Mr. Southwell, and they got the ECCA to be brought to St. Kitts. And I worked there for a while, and I remember one of the senior persons at the time saying to me, you know, other countries still want to get it, right? That is before they actually built the premises here now up at the Bird Rock area. So, again, great credit to him. And through that, we have, through that other, where we benefited in so many ways, not only the people coming in, but, of course, being the central focus of the Eastern Caribbean currency system in the Caribbean, in the Eastern Caribbean. And it became something to be looked at other countries, so that Trinidad and Guyana and Barbados and Jamaica wanted now to be part of this whole system. But of course we said, well, we have our own single currency, you can form your own, and if you see it working, then we can consider joining up. So we have maintained this for the last several decades. Thanks again, Mr. Bradshaw and his team, to bring it down here. So let us not diminish. I don't know why people go around trying to diminish other people like this. Let us, he has his faults, and there's no leader, not Bustamante, not Eric Williams, none of them will have their, be perfect. But these are the persons at the time who led their countries, led them out of the colonial era with all the toughness, and left a very good foundation on which others could build to get to be where we are now. So let us not think we just came here overnight. And I always tell people, you know, that growing up, you didn't have the Frigate Bay and the Bird Rock and the what have you. Southwell, and again under that administration, and that was under Bratcher's time, that they bought Frigate Bay, even before the nationalization or the acquisition of the Sugar Estate lands, bought Frigate Bay, because once ago you had to pay there to go to even to the beach. Bought there, made it accessible to everybody to go to the beaches, you know, and utilize it. It's a people's area, and also then began to develop it in a commercial way. So you have the residents, but you also have the commercial activities like the hotels and so on. This was vision, and this is something that we have to impress on our leaders. Not to be narrowly focused, but to have vision, long-term vision. That's what Bratcher had. So much kudos to him, much kudos to his leadership. Let us not diminish it. We can also, you know, look at the others, and they are not national heroes as well. But let us not diminish the role that the Honorable Sir, excellent Robert Bratcher played in the development of our country. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your input. It is now 1:25 in our studios. We are winding down. We will end our program at 1:30, so we will just take one more call, and then we will wrap up this program. You were listening, and you are listening to, Inside the News. Let us take this last call. Good afternoon, caller. We seem to have lost that call. We will be taking just one more call for our program. This is Inside the News on WINN FM 98.9. I am your host, Devon Cornelius. Thank you to all of you who contributed to our program, and all the calls and the comments and via the WhatsApp number, and of course the social media platforms. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of our program. And of course, thank you to our sponsors. Without them, this show would not have been possible. If we have no calls, we will begin wrapping up. And let me just say good afternoon to all of you in the radio land. Good afternoon to all of you who joined via the different platforms. And good afternoon to my people on Nevis. Today is a fantastic, or a super Saturday. So continue to have a good one, stay safe, and play your part in keeping St Kitts and Nevis safe from the coronavirus disease. We have been doing tremendously well, all of our people. So we have to give credit to our people, the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. Continue to play your part in keeping our nation safe as we get on the path to recovery and to bring back some sense of normalcy and some state of normalcy here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It was Inside the News for Saturday, the 27th day of February 2021 with Devon Cornelius. Until next time, see you next Saturday for another exciting edition of Inside the News. Give thanks for life.
Maybe it's the